is the NBA on NBC. Today, it's the Detroit Pistons versus the New York Knicks.
Welcome to Madison Square Garden in New York. A capacity crowd better than 19,000 have turned out for the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. And if it doesn't go well for the struggling home team, you will hear a very angry crowd that has not been shy in expressing its feelings. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with a man who is never shy about expressing his thoughts, the former coach of the Atlanta Hawks, Mike Fratello. And, Mike, there were great expectations for this year's edition of the New York Knicks. They have to be considered one of the major disappointments of the season. To oversimplify, they have not been able to properly surround one of the game's premier players in Patrick Ewing.
Other teams have had disappointing seasons thus far. Cleveland, Dallas, but they've been devastated by injuries. The Knicks have been relatively injury-free. Patrick Ewing has been accused of not doing enough, of doing too much, a little bit of dissension caused amongst the team. Patrick Ewing has done his job at the center spot. He's an all-star. I think it's time for the surrounding players, after a coaching change has been made and nothing has really turned around here, to examine themselves, look in the mirror, and decide what their contributions are. With the 21st coming up, trade deadline, it may be time for a move.
And with Isaiah Thomas sidelined by injury, much of the attention has been focusing on the significance of Joe Dumars changing his position to point guard. But there are many people around the NBA who feel that the key to the Pistons' success is a fellow by the name of Bill Laimbeer, although it does not show up in the stat sheet.
There are probably only two players that I can think of in this league that thrive on crowd boos. One is Danny Ainge, the other Bill Laimbeer. Laimbeer is a guy that most coaches say in front of their team, we hate him. Behind the scenes, they all say we'd love to have him on our side. He epitomizes what Chuck Daly wants. Defensive rebounding, shoots three-pointers from the outside, but at the defensive end causes total frustration. Went so far as having Richie Adubato, the coach from Dallas, make a highlight film of Laimbeer in the playoffs last year to show his players what it's all about. He just might be the key.
All right, now let's go to a man who will be feverishly working the sidelines throughout today's game. Let's go to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. You know, the Knicks have been dealing with some adversity of the mental kind, and it all stems from all the trade rumors. I talked to some of the players before the game. They said it's very disconcerting and hard to focus when you wake up every day, pick up a paper, and find out that you're traded. But it's something that they must get over if they hope to make a run with the remainder of the season. Now, one more update on that Detroit Pistons injury situation. John Sally hurt his back on Friday. He will not suit up and will not play today. Marv?
All right, Ahmad, we'll be back at the Garden for the lineup right after these words. (21-29), Maurice Cheeks and Gerald Wilkins open in the backcourt. Charles Oakley and Kiki Vandeweghe are up front. And the center is Patrick Ewing. John McLeod, 53 years old, out of New Albany, Indiana, who took over for Stu Jackson back on the 3rd of December, handling the ball club. And the officials, Tommy Nunez, Hugh Hollins, and Woody Mayfield. Knicks and the Pistons meeting for the second time this season. Back in late November at the Palace of Auburn Hills, the Pistons beat the Knicks by the score of 90-83. Knicks come off the defeat at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers in Richfield on Friday night, once again blowing a game down the stretch. That also the case here on Thursday night against the Chicago Bulls. Detroit's last game on Thursday, they won in Milwaukee 102-94, making it 3 straight on the road. Here's Gerald Wilkins. He barely nipped the rim. Oakley on the intercept. Ewing picked up on a switch by Rodman, who upon occasion has handled him defensively. Off a double team, the Knicks take a 2-0 lead.
And Ewing spinning away from the double team rather than turning into it, got it up quick enough before Laimbeer could get there to double back.
Joe Dumars playing despite the toe injury, bothered by the hyper-extended big toe, but hangs in. He told us last night it swells up after every game, but he's been piling up the minutes despite the injury. Foul committed by Oakley.
And that toe is extremely swollen. His toe cut out on the shoe, walks around, swells up after every game. They ice it back down, but as he mentioned, I think in August it'll be okay.
That's nice. Here is Rodman forcing
Patrick, a little bit inside, a little bit outside, filling the left lane in the fast break. Something the coaching staff said they'd like to see him do more.
Yes, John McLeod telling us they'd like to see him moving on the wing. They feel he runs very well and would add to a variation in his game. Here's Dumars and Ewing on the boards. Oakley given the shot. He hesitated. Crowd moans as Charles begins the pump motion. He has had his difficulties, ups and downs with the outside touch.
But when he makes that first one, he gets off to a good start, feels more confident about himself, and he usually has a good game.
Vinnie Johnson. And the Knicks with a 4-2 lead. Vinnie Johnson in his 12th year out of Baylor in the starting lineup. One with the injury suffered by Isaiah Thomas. Here's Cheeks. And Lane Beer able to one-hand it. Crowd very quiet here at the start.
The crowd, I think, wants to see how hard the Knicks are going to come out and play here against the World Championship team. They want to have a good game from the home team.
Patrick Ewing did well to get control and then feed it off to Cheeks. And Chuck Daly takes a long stroll. He is upset with these opening minutes. The Knicks now lead at 6-2.
Patrick showing us his total game. Inside low, outside jumper, lead to break and dish off for an assist.
Knicks come in, losers of 4 of the last 5. They've dropped 8 of their last 11. They're in the midst of a favorable schedule. You would think, at least on paper, a lot of home games coming up. But this is a club that has played very poorly at home. Ewing controlling both boards. And Cheeks regroups. Vandaway open from downtown. Rebounded by James Edwards.
It's almost like the crowd approves or disapproves of who's taking the shot. Yeah, that's okay. They were behind Kiki to take that one. That's fine. Do it, Kiki. Go ahead.
There are many judgments being made, and a very knowledgeable crowd over the years here in New York. Dumars. Both clubs having their difficulties at the start. 3.5 minutes gone by. Oakley for Ewing. Those are not the type of shots that the coaching staff would like to see Ewing take. Here's Vinnie Johnson. And the Knicks with a 6-4 lead. And a Knick turnover among their many problems. As the coaches like to say, the carelessness with the basketball has certainly hurt them this season.
It's not that the intention isn't right. He was being unselfish. He was finding an open teammate. It's the execution. It's got to be a pass that he can catch, not in his ankles.
And Oakley tried to snatch it away, but Vinnie Johnson came away with it. And the game is tied at 6.
One thing John McLeod does not want to see is Vinnie Johnson get off to a quick start. He is capable of getting you 20 points and a half of basketball.
Yes, the microwave has been lukewarm this season. A holdout finally signed just before the start of the campaign. Foul has been indicated. Vinnie Johnson did not shoot well at first and then turned it up a notch. Rodman called for that foul.
One of the things that John McLeod mentioned to us yesterday was Dennis Rodman is just too good of a defender when you stand still. We're going to have to do things to free Kiki, like swing the ball from one side of the floor to another, run him off screens to try and shake him free from Rodman.
Kiki Vandaway, one of the better free throw shooters. He has now hit 60 of his last 64. He is 89% for the season, although, like Patrick Ewing and Trent Tucker, he did miss important free throw in the final minutes in the loss to the Cavaliers on Friday.
Well, the big thing is that Kiki's been here for the majority of the games this season.
Off the pressure, Johnson able to get it ahead. Here's Edwards. In the past, particularly under Rick Pitino, the Knicks had success in pressuring the Detroit Pistons. We talked about it with John McLeod. He feels that the composition of this ball club is not geared to succeeding with the pressure defense, but they will be doing it upon occasion, as we just saw. Discussing the Knicks pressure now with Atlanta. You had success against the Pistons by going with the press.
We had some success. Pitino, when he was coaching the Knicks, had success against them. At that time, when you would press and trap, Detroit would not attack. Now, Chuck Daly, the last season and a half, has changed his philosophy. When you press him, he tries to get it up quick. As we saw there, James Edwards takes the quick open jumper. They've put more pressure on the defense. As a result, been a little more successful. Teams aren't as likely to press now.
5 minutes gone by in this first quarter from Madison Square Garden in New York. And the Knicks and the Pistons are tied at 8. Wilkins guarded by Johnson. Battle between Edwards and Ewing. And that is a leg block, so the Knicks get the new 24.
Detroit has made a decision that they're going to back off the perimeter people with the exception of Vanderway and make those guards take outside shots. They want to give more help back in the post area.
Ewing one-on-one with Edwards. Finds Cheeks. Changed his shot with the presence of Lambeer. Here's Ewing, and that's a goaltend, but very impressive on the part of Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman coming from the weak side on the rotation, anticipates where the ball is going to be, tries to get it before it's on its way down. Looks right there in that replay that it might have been a clean block.
The Knicks 10, and the Pistons 8. Lambeer setting the pick. Cheeks able to stay with Dumars. Edwards played by Oakley. And the Knicks and the Pistons are tied at 10. James Edwards, a man dissatisfied with his contract. Story in the Detroit papers earlier in the week. Holding James is saying, trade me or pay me.
Well, we need to understand in that situation, as Gerald Wilkins makes his move blocked by James Edwards, he is a center right now that is making less than $1 million. The majority of the centers in this league are $1 million plus paid players. He just wants to be paid equally for his position.
Difficult situation, though, for Detroit as you watch James Edwards go to work on Charles Oakley. Edwards getting up there. It's 14 years in the NBA. Here's Ewing. And the Knicks with a 12-10 lead. Ewing has 8 of the Knicks points. And Edwards has been a very important player for the Pistons. He has grown since coming over to Detroit.
Without question, a great deal of success depends on how many players you have that command a double team or can draw one. He gave that to the Pistons, a perfect complement with a big man like Lambeer who goes outside.
Joe Dumars has tied the game at 12. Charles Oakley. You hear the moans from the crowd. When we saw the Knicks in the preseason in the tournament in Barcelona, I mentioned that the teams usually like to see Oakley hit his first field goal because it encourages him to keep shooting.
As James Edwards hits that little turnaround fadeaway shot over the top of Oakley, who's much smaller than James Edwards, I would think Detroit will continue to go at that spot.
Pistons with a 14-12 lead and a careless play. The miscommunication between Cheeks and Ewing.
And some of the problems for the Knicks have been that those key types of mistakes have taken place in the final minutes of the fourth quarter.
Getting back to the point regarding Oakley, he has been so erratic in his shot selection. Now, he'll come out, pump a couple from the outside, and then he will not take a shot again until the fourth quarter. So there's no consistency. Bill Lambeer showing the touch from downtown, and the Pistons extend to a 17-12 lead.
Perfect example of what we talked about. He stays outside, Edwards is inside. With Ewing down low, it would be nice if Oakley could knock a few out.
Ewing, air ball, and here come the Pistons, who have reeled off 7 consecutive points. Dumars Good hustle by Rodman. What a save. Edwards gets inside. Pretty pass from Johnson. And Detroit has settled down. They now lead at 19-12. And the Knicks hear the boos from the crowd as they take a 20-second timeout.
This is such a veteran Detroit team that they get a feel during the course of the game when they can seize that opportunity. This little stretch run is one of those examples. Vinnie Johnson sees his big guy underneath. Mismatch. Van der Way trying to rotate back. Edwards just lets him go by. Shoots the layup. Second shot opportunities. Rodman kicks it out. Unselfish basketball. Vinny to James Edwards. Thank you.
We've seen the Knicks commit a couple of careless turnovers, and a stat that tells the story. Look at the turnover totals of Detroit. 60 for Laimbeer, Edwards 78, and match that with the combination of Ewing and Oakley.
It comes down to either poor skills by players or decision making. When it's a good shot or when it's time to pass, obviously the Pistons big men do a better job at that.
Detroit in the midst of a 9-0 run the last minute and a half, and James Edwards has been a key man. He's hit 4 out of 4 for 8 points. 5 on the shot clock. They double up. Good pass from Ewing, and it's an offensive foul. Cheeks called for the personal.
As he does so often, Laimbeer stays on the ground, doesn't leave his feet, yet he bothers the opposition. He sees Cheeks coming. Let me just stand here. He jumps into him. Cheeks commits the offensive foul. Bill Laimbeer never leaves the floor. He's got the great ability to take offensive fouls, slide underneath people, or change shots with a little bit of acting.
And now Mark Jackson with an early entrance replacing Maurice Cheeks. Mark Jackson making some strong statements the other day. Jackson and Wilkins now in the backcourt. Jackson with a beautiful feed for Wilkins. The Pistons with a 19-14 lead. Mark Jackson said on Thursday he believes that General Manager Al Bianchi and Coach John McLeod are limiting his playing time because of personal reasons. It has nothing at all to do with what happens on the floor. Ewing on the reject. Wilkins not able to handle the pass from Jackson.
One of those opportunities that you just can't afford to lose. You make a great defensive play at one end. It gets the crowd excited. You need to convert those fast break opportunities. Give and go basketball. Step around Laimbeer. Excellent move by Gerald Wilkins.
By the Knicks, and he says it has become personal. I asked him about it prior to the game.
I came into camp ready to play, in shape. The first 6 to 8 games started. We had a very good record. And from day one, when Coach McLeod took over, before practice or anything, I was taken out of the lineup. That's not to say it's him. That's not to say it's management. That's not to say it's anybody. It's to say that I wasn't given the opportunity to keep my job.
Well, Mark Jackson has had brilliant moments, and within the same game, terrible moments. He's also been a defensive liability who is more comfortable camouflage in the Rick Pitino system. There you see the rundown on assists and steals. They've fallen off because the playing time has diminished, and he has been on the trade block, although he says despite his recent utterances, nice pass, and Rodman able to hit. Jackson said despite his feelings he would not ask to be traded.
He's in a very difficult situation. I think players play better when they're happy. Obviously he is not a happy young man right now, but it's not a case where you can just give a guy away. There is this thing called salary cap that causes some problems. There are teams in this league that do want Mark Jackson if the Knicks don't want him any longer.
Another Knick turnover. Laimbeer, that's 2-point range, and Jackson on the rebound. Pistons 21 and the Knicks 14 as we come up on 2 minutes to go in this opening quarter. Kenny Walker has come on for the first time. Walker up front with Ewing and Oakley. Laimbeer on a switch. Ewing, and rebounded by Rodman. A most unusual quiet crowd here at the Garden. Knicks have not provided much to cheer about this season, but usually there's more animation. Jackson challenging Laimbeer, and Rodman rebound.
Another case of Laimbeer just distorting the shot.
Dumars shooting. And Johnson able to hustle it down. Here's Vinnie Johnson. The Pistons lead at 23-14.
Must keep a body on Vinnie Johnson. When the shot goes up, he's one of the best offensive rebounding guards in the NBA. Has been doing it for his entire career.
The Knicks now 6 for 19 from the field. They have the poor shooting first half against the Cavaliers on Friday. Wilkins, and the shooting woes continue. It will be Detroit ball.
I don't know if it's necessarily fair to start booing at Gerald Wilkins because he misses maybe his first perimeter shot of the game. He's trying to get himself on track. This is not an easy team to get good shots against.
I think the booing here is in regard to precedence, what has been seen throughout the season. Knicks today also facing the #1 defensive team in the league. Pistons allow only 95 points per game, and a good defensive sequence by the Knicks. 24-second violation.
And as Joe Dumars went by Woody Mayfield, he said, hey, listen, that was an illegal defensive down. Pat Ewing never moved out of the center of the lane, played no one other than space.
Is that Larry Space? 20 seconds to go. First quarter. 8 on the shot clock. Jackson for Wilkins. And Oakley with the putback. 23-16. Pistons in front. 10 seconds to go in the quarter. Wilkins pressing Johnson. Down to 5 seconds. Down to 2. Nice pass. Rodman is fouled as the buzzer sounds. So Dennis Rodman will go to the line. Patrick Ewing committing his first. And the first quarter is officially over, so Dennis Rodman will line up by himself. He is not a good free throw shooter at 65%. This makes it even difficult with no lineup. Maybe this is the answer for Dennis.
Chuck Daly told us last night, it's incredible, as poor a free throw shooter as he is, he's a terrific three-point shooter. He said, I'm going to start running three-point plays for him.
Rodman concludes the quarter by hitting 1 out of 2. And after 1 here at the Garden, it's the Pistons 24, the Knicks 16.
Miller Genuine Draft presents #1 draft choices.
It was back in 1985, then Knicks general manager Dave DeBusschere celebrated the Knicks garnering the overall #1 selection in the lottery. Patrick Ewing out of Georgetown. Today's Miller Genuine Draft #1 draft choice, Patrick Ewing. The Knicks top pick in 85. He averaged 20 points per game in his rookie season. And today, 4 for 7, 8 points in the first quarter. Let's go over to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, Marv, here in New York at Madison Square Garden, the stars have come out. And I'm sitting with one of the biggest stars in the music business, MC Hammer. MC, now, I've seen you here a couple times. Are you becoming a New York Knicks fan?
Well, you know, I enjoy watching them play. I enjoy coming to the game. I'll be here, I think, one more time before I leave.
You know, as I think about your performance on stage, there's only one person I think that can match you athletically. That's Michael Jordan.
Well, it's a very, athletic performance, and I enjoy doing that. It's my way of still playing.
All right, good to see you here, man. Thanks, man.
All right, Ahmad, working celebrity road to our left as we get underway in the second quarter. Trent Tucker has just checked in. Good play by Edwards. It will be Nick Ball.
With the inability of Oakley to make a shot to start out this game, the problem for New York is they keep setting the screen on the pick and roll. Jackson, Oakley, Detroit pays no attention to Oakley. They almost double team the dribbler.
Patrick Ewing got off to the fast start, but has had his difficulties. John Long and Mark McGuire now on the floor for the Pistons. And here comes Jackson, 2-on-1. Edwards back behind the back to the trailer Ewing.
One of the things that Mark Jackson does for a team, he can ignite the crowd because he is a creative player. He gets people involved in the offense by breaking the defense down or making things happen in the break, as he just did for Patrick.
Long for Edwards. And Johnson short of the mark. Knicks look to run again. Jackson for Tucker. He's been hot from long range. A three-pointer for Trent Tucker. So the Pistons, who ended the first quarter with a 14-4 run, now clinging to a three-point lead.
Because of the injury to Isaiah Thomas and the lack of confidence in Blanks, their first-round draft pick, Vinnie Johnson now becomes the point guard. A real problem for Detroit trying to get into their half-court offense.
Here's Long, rejected by Ewing. Rodman recaptures, but it's another 24-second violation.
Mark Jackson just has a feel for where everyone is on the fast break, draws two defenders, knows Patrick's following down the court, drops it behind his back. He has the ability to see both lanes and know who's behind him. He and Ewing seem to have that ability to communicate without actually saying it.
2.5 gone by in the second quarter. Ewing stripped. Mustaf, who just checked in, able to hit, and he was fouled. Gerard Mustaf, the rookie from Maryland, who in recent games has been going as the backup center, but now John McLeod using him at a forward position.
Patrick with the big strides, loses, but Gerard, right place at the right time, follows it up. That's what he needs to do. Give him a little bit of that garbage offense.
Edwards on the foul. We'll be back in a moment. Well, Nick, rookie Gerard Mustaf, who scored just a moment ago, appears to be back in the good graces of John McLeod, although he was upset with Mustaf off this sequence last Tuesday night in Indiana. In a crowd down low, he goes behind the back and coughed it up to the Pacers. The Knicks did go on to win the game, but here's McLeod demonstrating the fact that he was annoyed with that behind-the-back maneuver. And Gerard Mustaf had some strong statements to say several weeks ago. He was in the starting lineup for a while, then the Knicks sat him down, and McLeod did not like his attitude, the way he accepted the diminishing playing time, and they had a long chat, and it appears that Gerard is back, and I don't know if things are all well with he and McLeod, but he has been getting the playing time recently. William Bedford able to hit. He just checked in. Pistons lead by 3.
I think Gerard needs to check his stats of what he's done so far in the NBA. He's 21 years old. He's a rookie. And all coaches want is to try and help develop players, do the best they can to help out. If you're not going to be receptive to it, it doesn't leave much room for improvement then.
Mustaf blocked by Bedford. Mustaf with a good play, banging it off the leg of Lane Beer. A little schoolyard technique that clicked. Here's Mark Aguirre, who appeared to hurt his elbow a moment ago and then went back to the bench. And he returns, replacing Dennis Rodman.
One of the things that you and I talked about last night was the fact that in recent games, maybe for the entire season, as we see Lambert take his shot, go around for the steal, and try to save it to his own teammate, but wrong guy, wrong color jersey. I was mentioning that one of the things missing from the Knicks this season seems to be that enthusiasm, that spirit, that zest to want to play and win. Today, the players seem to have that.
From my observation this season, they only seem to be animated and have that kind of desire when they're winning. And that's always the tough thing. When you fall behind, to be able to garner that enthusiasm is not an easy task. And it's almost as if they're only a front-running ball club, among many other problems that this team has.
Well, they must soon realize that not only are you ahead sometimes, but many times, often in this league, behind, you have to find a way to win when you're down in games.
Delay as they reset the shot clock down to 10 on the 24. Mustaf. Gerard Mustaf going glass with a fling and able to hit the Pistons with a 26-25 lead. Gerard Mustaf, the Knicks' #1 draft pick. He's only 21 years old. He left Maryland after his sophomore season. Dumars. And the Pistons lead 28-25.
And if they can continue to do that, draw the double team, the Pistons, and then kick out to Joe Dumars while he's standing still, he'll make shots because his toe doesn't have to move as Trent Tucker knocks out another jumper. But when he's trying to do it off the dribble, it's tough right now to push off with a damaged toe.
Detroit by 1. Jackson anticipating. Mark Jackson with the steal of the bucket. And and the Knicks take a 1-point lead.
New York's defense has been very active. One of the things John McCloud told us that they had been working very hard on. Already 2 24-second violations, forced to steal right there for an easy score.
4 minutes gone by in the second, and the blocking foul called on Tucker. Here's Charles Oakley returning.
As Aguirre draws the double team, he looks for his teammate cutting down the lane, but Mark Jackson anticipates, shoots the gap for the steal, and then shows us he's got a little rise in those legs.
Well, with Oakley returning, Ewing sits down, so Mustaf now will be at the backup center position. And Bedford using the height advantage, goes 7'1", about 235.
And the key with William Bedford is his consistency of play. Chuck Daly would like to give him minutes on a regular basis, but he must produce if he's going to come out on the floor each night.
Kenny Walker. Lane Beer lost it. Jackson with the step. Walker and Bedford battling, and a loose ball foul indicated. The call by Tommy Nunez. It's against Bedford.
It's a tough call because both players are scrambling for the ball, but Bedford holds off with that left arm and prevents Kenny Walker from getting to it. Tommy Nunez says that's not fair.
The Knicks have taken a timeout. 7:24 remaining in the first half. The evenings at home. Pistons with a 30-29 lead. 7:24 to go in this first half. Since the Knicks were down 23-14, the Knicks in the midst of a 15-7 run. Coincidental, with the entrance of Mark Jackson, things have turned around. The force by Mustaf, but he's able to rebound and hit. Gerard Mustaf with one of his more impressive performances. He now has 6 points.
Not only with the appearance of Mark Jackson on the floor, but the bench is producing. Tucker, Mustaf, Jackson.
Aguirre. Lambeer gets to it, but lost to Tucker. Good play. And one of the weaknesses of the Knicks in recent weeks has been the poor play of the bench. Vanderway hitting the three-pointer, and the Knicks now lead 34-30.
They're playing loose, they're playing free, and they know their defense is playing very well today. They're taking Detroit out of the things they like to do best and only giving them one shot.
Dumars on the penetration, and he was hacked.
A strong move down low, fights for position, protects the ball, and then stays active on the glass. A little bit of a fake right there by Bedford, but he keeps his concentration, lays it in.
So Gerard Mustaf, 3 out of 5 for 6 points, and he's done a nice job off the boards. Vandeweghe called for that foul. And Joe Dumars, an 88% free throw shooter, misses on his first. Joe Dumars making it to his second straight All-Star game, and game in and game out, he does it at both ends. Goes belly to belly to neutralize opposing scores, and one of the outstanding clutch shooters in the game.
Just a terrific all-around player, class act, and a guy who also would like to be part of that United States Olympic team. It worked out that way for him. He's proud to represent this country.
Offensive foul. It's on Mustaf. 6:12 remaining in this first half, and the Knicks with a 34-31 lead. John Long sitting down. Coming into today, the Knicks with a record of 21 and 29. That is the battle for the last 2 playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. 7th and 8th spots being contested for Knicks, Indiana, Washington, and Cleveland. That's a double dribble indicated by Tommy Nunez, and it will be Nick Ball. Tuesday night, the Knicks are home for Atlanta. Thursday night, home for Seattle. This, in the midst of a stand that will see the Knicks play 6 out of 9 at home, but for the Knicks, that is not necessarily an advantage. They have not played well here at the Garden. Oakley going glass. Knicks lead by 5. Dumars and Johnson in the backcourt. Lane Beer, Bedford, and Aguirre up front. Tucker over to help. Johnson on the pump fake.
It's been so hard for Detroit to manufacture points. Each of the players that we spoke to said to us, we just don't get any easy baskets. And part of the reason is the guards aren't breaking down the opposition. Dumar's trying to play the point, has the bad toe, tough for him to move.
And away with the fake. Oakley went flying, and Dumars gets to it. Can Detroit succeed without making the trade for a backup point guard? Well, with the injury to Isaiah Thomas, that's a loose ball foul on the Pistons, called on Aguirre. James Edwards checking back in. Isaiah Thomas out for the rest of the season after undergoing wrist surgery. He hopes to return sometime during the playoffs, but can they do it without making a deal?
They're 7-3 so far since Isaiah's gone down, but a number of those teams were below 500 teams. They take care of their business against those type of teams. The problem is they need a guard with some quickness, speed, that can beat you off the dribble, break the defense down to free up some of their open shooters, because they have guys who can make shots. Aguirre, Lambier, Dumars. I think they need that extra guard. Sometimes easier said than done.
Patrick Ewing has returned. Vandeweghe way off. The shot clock running down, but Oakley kept it alive. Here's Vandeweghe. Yes, and it counts.
One of the things that Mark Jackson does is get inside the defense, causes havoc, and then finds his open teammates. Rather than just stand outside, face up, he breaks them down off the dribble, as we just talked about, that the Pistons need to do more of. Kiki with the easy score.
Benny Johnson called on the foul. Three-point play for Vandeweghe. It's the Knicks 39, the Pistons 33. 4:20 remaining. First half. Marv Albert with Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad from Madison Square Garden. Capacity crowd, better than 19,000 on hand. And they have come to life here in the second quarter with the Knicks turning things around. And that against Detroit. It's an offensive foul. It's on Benny Johnson, his second. At the half, the Bullets leading Cleveland 56-48. That game being played in Baltimore. Last touch by Detroit. So it will be Nick Ball. Washington Bullets at 21-30. They are in the chase for those final playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. Ewing called for the push-off on Edwards. James Edwards and Patrick Ewing have had a very aggressive matchup. This over the years since Edwards came to Detroit. You recall when he first came to the league, James Edwards had the reputation of being a soft player. We talked about it with him last night. He said that, yes, he has become more aggressive with the Pistons because the Piston players changed his style. Benny Johnson able to connect. He said if you're not doing the job physically, his teammates will tell him about it.
It became a matter of survival in the Pistons training camp. Either you become tougher or you're not a Piston.
Ewing, once again, that is not the answer for Ewing to stand outside and take jump shots, and every so often he will get into that pattern. Here's Ewing. Strong move. And the Knicks by 6.
Good advice that you just gave, Patrick. He heard you, took it inside strong, scores the basket.
I can understand the frustration, particularly if Ewing is in a game situation where he's not getting the ball. Lambier from downtown. One-handed rebound by Oakley. But when the big man stands outside and pops away, it takes the rest of the club out of their rhythm. Oakley. Strong move by Charles Oakley. The Knicks by 8. Chuck Daly wants to talk it over, and the crowd responds with 2:40 to go in the second quarter. It's the Knicks by 8.
May 1989. One dramatic play knocks Cleveland out of the playoffs. Since then, Jordan and company have denied the Cavaliers the sweet taste of revenge, winning 8 successive encounters. Now they meet again. The Bulls, the Cavaliers, tomorrow on NBC.
We're ready, Michael.
Well, Mike, being a romanticist, can certainly relate to this, and we try to cover it all here on our NBA Game of the Week on NBC. Earlier this week on Valentine's Day at Orlando, Cupid paid a visit to Orlando, Florida, as 105 couples tied the knot before the Magic's game. A little Valentine's Day treat. Incidentally, Mike, thanks for the flowers the other day. I really appreciate it.
Could you see that done here in Madison Square Garden?
I don't know how it would be received here in Gotham Town.
So kind to the couples.
The Knicks with a 43-35 lead, 2:32 remaining in the first half. Mark Jackson called for the pushing foul on Vinnie Johnson. Mark Jackson has played most of the first half. This off the heels of those strong statements that we dealt with earlier. Mark feeling was not getting the playing time because he says it was something personal on the part of John McLeod and Al Bianchi, but McLeod pulled cheeks, who was not getting much going, and went with Jackson, and it's helped to turn the game. Rodman, and the Knicks now lead 43-37.
As is the case with many of us, I think as we get older, we get wiser, we mature a little bit. I think Mark Jackson realizes if you're going to make those type of statements, you better come out and play hard and back it up with a good performance, and he's doing that today.
Gerald Wilkins. So the Knicks lead 45-37. 4 points for Wilkins. That only his second field goal. And Johnson threw it away. Nice catch by John McLeod. The Knicks with a backcourt. Wilkins and Jackson up front. Ewing, Vandeweghe, and Oakley. Johnson hand-checking Gerald Wilkins, who gave it up. Jackson, yes. Mark Jackson with 4 points plus 6 assists.
You can see with the Knicks today, they have a real good sense of what they're trying to do, what they want to get done, where they want to take advantage. They're using Wilkins like Chicago uses Jordan, like LA uses Magic, back down a big guard, draw a double team, and then kick out.
Johnson, Eddie able to get it off and hit in traffic. He's the high man for Detroit. Eddie Johnson has 14 points. The Detroit Pistons come in with a record of 35-16, a game behind Chicago in the Central. But the Pistons overall have dropped 3 of the last 5, and they have lost 2 straight at home. Gerald Wilkins with a pretty move. Knicks now lead by 10.
One of the differences between the Knicks and the Pistons, that Detroit understands you must win at home and that you must beat the teams that are below 500. Their record against sub-500 teams, 25-2 thus far this season.
Mike not only understanding, but talking about skill level, determining that type of record. And Detroit a 21-4 at home, while the Knicks 10-15 here at the Garden, and they've lost 3 of the last 4 at home. But the home crowd appreciating the Knick effort here in the first half. One of their better performances at the Garden this season. Final seconds of the quarter. 3 on the shot clock. Ewing has to fire. Lane Beer rebounds, and he and Wilkins came together. Foul call with 1 8/10 seconds left in the half. Gerald Wilkins called for his first. Chuck Daly's Detroit Pistons have been outscored 33-15 in this second quarter. That a non-shooting foul, and Detroit will throw it in. Daly wants a 20-second timeout. So the Pistons will talk it over. And when we resume, 1 8/10 seconds remaining. Coming up on the Prudential halftime report. Left to right, Pat Riley, Bob Costas. And we're told that Pat had a little luncheon engagement yesterday with Chuck Daly, and they discussed a number of matters, and we will show you part of that discussion at halftime.
We missed you in Charlotte at the All-Star game, but I need to probably make the people aware of this. Bob Costas is a legitimate shooter. Practicing at the All-Star game, at one point knocks out 17 straight free throws. He's a legit shooter.
You're kidding.
I think Riley better take him a little more seriously.
An impressive Fratello report. Traveling violation called on Rodman. That is a most unusual occurrence.
You're allowed to move one of your feet side to side as long as you keep the other one established as a pivot foot. If you slide along the sideline on a spot throw-in, it's a violation.
1 8/10 seconds remaining. Jackson, well, coming off the 74-footer Friday night against the Cavaliers. This one went short.
At least Bill Laimbeer didn't jump above the rim and touch it as Karl Malone did in the All-Star game. He let it come below.
And the crowd applauding the efforts of the New York Knicks as they leave the floor with a 49-39 lead. That the travel by Rodman, the call made by Hugh Hollins, who was right on the scene.
Good call by the officials. He did shuffle his feet, move along the sideline.
At the half, the Knicks by 10. Coming up in a moment, Bob Costas and Pat Riley. Up front. And they're down to 6 on the shot clock. Rodman with the force.
Not exactly the guy you want with the ball while the shot clock is running down. He has a tough time manufacturing a shot.
Quick release by Vandeweghe. And a loose ball foul on Oakley. Charles Oakley called for his second. The Knicks opening with Oakley, Vandeweghe, and Ewing up front. Wilkins and Cheeks in the backcourt.
Just a little bit of extra effort here as the ball caroms off and they're chasing it down. Oakley, not an intentional foul, just happens.
Dumars putting the move on Cheeks. Joe Dumars telling us last night of the great respect he has for the game of Maurice Cheeks, who is providing problems. Dumars could not locate the shot. 1 on the 24, and another careless play by Detroit.
Very unusual that you would have 3 24-second violations in a basketball game already 1 minute into the third quarter. That's the third one caused by New York's defense. The Pistons have struggled to get shots, numbers of shots up in their games with the absence of Isaiah Thomas.
Ewing, yes. And the Knicks lead at 51-39.
A number of people have said, hey, since Joe Dumars has moved over to the point guard spot, you really see he's not the same kind of point guard that people always thought he was. To be fair to Joe Dumars, he really has a tough time moving right now. That 2 for 10 shooting, tough to move off the dribble when guys are defending you when you just about can lift your foot up.
Cheeks with the steal. He turned Laimbeer around and hit. It's the Knicks 53 and the Pistons 39. Maurice Cheeks started the game, played only 8 minutes in the first quarter. Mark Jackson inserted. He helped to spark the Knicks. And now Maurice Cheeks with a couple of big plays as we open up the third quarter. The Pistons have taken a timeout. The Knicks with their biggest lead of the day, a 14-point margin, 53-39. Without Isaiah Thomas this season, Detroit is 8-4. When Isaiah has missed games over his career, of course, in previous years, the Pistons were not as good as they are now, so they were 14-20. Aguirre has checked back in. Here's Edwards. And it's now 53-41. I posed the question to you earlier, can Detroit succeed without making a trade for a backup point guard? We understand that Detroit Piston general manager Jack McCloskey is headed to Europe to do some scouting. And I'm wondering, with the NBA's agreement with the FEB, the International Basketball Association, can the Pistons at this stage sign someone and bring them back for league play?
We have an agreement with the NBA and FIBA that we will not take a player who's under contract. However, I'll give you 2 choices they might have. When the season ends over there sometime in March, a player's contract may be up. They can bring him back then, late in the season. Or how about if you pay a team money to break a contract and the team lets him out of the contract?
Off the collision, the foul called on Edwards.
I'll give you two names, too. How about Michael Ray Richardson or Michael Cooper? And let's see the physical play inside of the big people. Ewing with a little shove, double forearm. James Edwards didn't really fight it as hard as he could have. Goes down for an easy count.
Interesting thought. Mike Richardson can still play. That's 3 on Patrick Ewing. So correction on that foul. That called on Ewing. And Michael Richardson, from what we are told, is over all the personal drug problems and can still play the game exceptionally well. It would be an interesting thought. Michael Cooper, of course, not in the point guard category. Here's Cheeks off the steal. And the Knicks lead at 55 to 41.
Cooper not the break you down quick type of point guard, but Pat Riley used him so effectively for so many years as that third guard rotating in at both spots. He did a good enough job of getting it down the floor.
3 minutes gone by in the third. Lane Beer. And the Knicks now lead at 55-43.
What Chuck Daly is saying right now by putting Aguirre back in that quickly for Dennis Rodman, he understands that he has to hope Aguirre, Vinnie Johnson, Lane Beer, that they get on a roll offensively, helping through this tough time. Otherwise, they're not going to score as Hugh Holland sees the illegal defense. Little deflection on the reach around. Cheeks picks it up, and he is the all-time leader in the NBA of steals, so naturally Maurice converts at the other end.
3.5 gone by in the third. Knicks lead it by 12. Ewing fouled by Edwards. And that's the second committed by James Edwards.
Once he picks up his dribble, he covers so much ground with those final 2 strides. He actually goes from one side of the lane almost across to the other side before he releases the ball.
Patrick Ewing, the number 5 man in scoring, averaging better than 26 per game, 5th in rebounding. His free throw shooting has been way off. He has dropped this year. In the past, solid foul shooter. And he has had all kinds of troubles at the line in the fourth quarter.
Well, if you keep going to guys a significant number of times and you play their minutes, as their minutes rather move up higher, it can take an effect on the stretch run of basketball games. Fatigue does set in.
But in the past, Ewing was very proficient and was a big game player, particularly down the stretch. Not the case this season. Traveling violation call. Knicks with a 57-43 lead. Cheeks and Wilkins in the backcourt. Oakley, Vandeweghe, Ewing up front. Nice move. Mickey Vandeweghe on the reverse. He now has 10, and the Knicks extend to a 16-point margin.
That entire play set up by Vandeweghe's ability to set up the defensive guy, run him off screens, cuts, and then make the right decision on his part without the ball.
With the penetration. Knicks try to break. Detroit able to get back. Cheeks with the opening.
It seemed to us a few minutes ago when Chuck Daly took the timeout that the Piston team with a 35-year-old, a 34-year-old, and a 33-year-old on the floor looked tired, looked slow. New York senses the same thing. They're pushing the ball right back at them.
Illegal defense called on the Pistons. The basket will not count. So that is the first illegal defense called on the Knicks. They each have 1. Aguirre will inbound. He's up front with Lane Beer and Edwards. Dumars and Johnson at the guard. And a brilliant defensive play by Maurice Cheeks. Oakley set the pick and took a shove from Lane Beer. Wilkins tried to thread it. And a kicking violation indicated. They'll bring it back. Knicks retain possession. They get the new 24.
It's one of those passes that drives coaches crazy. If you're not sure, we don't need a look-away pass at that time. Just be solid. Be sure the guy is there. Don't give an unnecessary turnover to the Pistons.
Very close to a 5-second inbounding violation. Ewing establishing possession and then lost it. The Detroit Pistons opened up this 90-91 season with the best start in franchise history, as you see Ewing put on the floor and turn it over. Pistons won 13 of 15 in November. 1 point, they won 10 in a row. They had a difficult time in December, a month that saw 10 of 15 on the road. Vinny Johnson, he's had the hot hand. Knicks now lead by 14. Since that rough stretch, the Pistons have won 16 and lost 5, including a very strong month of January when they went 13-2. They have been struggling recently.
Keep in mind they had their West Coast trips early in the season as Ewing is fouled going up on his strong inside move. They got those West Coast trips out of the way. It was a much more difficult schedule. They knew it would just be a matter of time before they got back into their building, played a stretch of home games. They were very confident the whole time they turned it around.
Edwards committing his third, and Ewing to the line. He's 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Patrick Ewing in his 6th season as a New York Knick, and he's seen quite a few coaching changes with this club. Hubie Brown, who had the team through some injury-torn seasons, his first coach. So he has had 5 coaches in his 6 years as a pro.
And John McCloud mentioned to us yesterday, I didn't realize how difficult it is taking over a team during the season. I can imagine how tough it is for the players to adjust to 5 different coaches during that time, as just mentioned.
Just under 6 minutes to go, third quarter. Ewing on the break, gives it up. Wilkins back to Ewing.
Good decision by Joe. Reward the big guy who's playing so hard for him today. Give him the dunk, get the crowd involved.
And the Knick lead is now 17. That is the biggest lead of the game. Nice swing move by Johnson. Yes, and it counts. And Vinny Johnson will go to the line.
The agility of the big man to step out Patrick Ewing, give it up, knowing that his teammate's going to give it back so he can finish it off in the end.
18 points for Vinny Johnson. Completes the three-point play. He was fouled by Gerald Wilkins. The Knicks now lead at 64-50.
Last 2 shots by Vinny have both been double clutch, pump it up. Oakley with the dunk, nice feed by Tiki Vandeweghe from the top of the circle. Maybe Vinny's saying, hey, look, let me distort my shot a little bit. Seems to be going in better.
Knicks by 16. McGuire played by Oakley. Oh, beautiful fake. Put the move on, but not able to hit. Wilkins called for the travel. Vinny Johnson creating that turnover with the reach for the ball.
It's the responsibility of Gerald Wilkins to know if a defensive player is there, but also the responsibility of the rebounder not to throw the outlet pass if a defensive player is hanging around for the steal.
Dumars setting it up. Aguirre working off the pick. Aguirre 0 for 4 to this point. Trying to set him up. Ewing altered that shot, and it will be Knick ball.
We've spoken to Chuck Daly. He's mentioned in the past when Aguirre gets off to these type of 0 for 3, 0 for 4 starts, Chuck, you pull him out right away, come back with a rocket or change the lineup. He says, no, I stay with him, I ride him because he's the kind of player who can get you 20 all of a sudden.
Nice pass. Vandeweghe from Cheeks to give the Knicks an 18-point lead.
But when that type of thing happens, when he breaks you down defensively, then you got to make a decision whether you leave him on the floor or not. He might hurt you at the offensive end, but if he's helping you defensively, you stay with him. When both ends are a problem, time to make a move.
Dumars. Not a good shot. Ewing going right at Lane Beer. Yes. The Knicks by 20. And the Knicks are hearing it from the crowd. Johnson. The Knicks 70, the Pistons 52.
Detroit has always had the philosophy. They talk about it as a team. On the road, let's just hang around long enough to give ourselves a chance to win in the end.
Gerald Wilkins. Bill Laimbeer called for the foul, and Wilkins will go to the foul line. It is all working for the Knicks, who come in with 2 straight losses. They've dropped 8 of their last 11. Oakley able to keep it alive. 3:15 remaining in this third quarter. And a timeout taken as the Knicks have brought the cheers back to Madison Square Garden. Something they have not heard in some time.
Vandeweghe's ability to move without the ball helps him get easy scores. His last 2 baskets because of his movement without. He catches Aguirre on top of the screen, so he starts to set him up high, then fakes like he's coming back out for the jumper, then goes back door where he receives the pass for the easy score. Kiki Vandeweghe, one of the best in the league, moving without the ball. Pop out, go without it, terrific pass, easy score.
Kiki Vandeweghe with 12 points. The high man, Patrick Ewing, with 21. And the Knicks with a 23-13 advantage here in the third after the 33-15 in the second quarter. Down to 3 minutes remaining in the third. The Knicks 72 and the Pistons 52. Vinnie Johnson and Charles Oakley, who has been in command off the boards, colors his 12th rebound of the game. John McLeod staying the same as the starting lineup on the floor. They have played very well. The double up on Ewing, and it's knocked out, last touched by Laimbeer. 7 on the shot clock. Here's the rookie from Maryland, Gerard Mustaf, who played well in the first half, making his return.
Ewing having difficulty at times finding the handle on the ball. A little bit of slippage.
Patrick Ewing getting a rest. Cheeks. And rebounded by Aguirre.
Perhaps one of the things that John McLeod is finding out about this team is rather than substituting based on minutes, maybe we substitute and play as the game is going. He rode out Mark Jackson the first half. Cheeks leading the break. This is off. And he stays with Cheeks in the second half.
And Vandeweghe has given the Knicks a 22-point lead. I get the feeling, Mike, that Chuck Daly may not be welcoming the NBC cameras too frequently. We telecast the Detroit-Chicago Christmas Day game. Pistons beaten by the Bulls in Chicago. Vinnie Johnson goes glass, and we saw Phoenix knock off Detroit at the Palace a couple of weeks ago, and the Pistons have had a long afternoon. Still lots of time remaining, but as you see, we're down to 1:40 remaining in the third quarter, and the Knicks maintaining the big lead.
Chuck mentioned last night, keep me off TV, will you, for a while?
Harold Wilkins getting a piece of the bottom of the glass. Johnson using the crossover. Nice look by Edwards. Aguirre. So Mark Aguirre with his first field goal. He was working on an 0 for 6. The Knicks 74. Pistons 56. Down to 5 on the 24. Mustaf around Laimbeer.
Nice move for the 6'10" rookie. Catches Laimbeer out wide, just takes him off the dribble to the basket.
Here's Aguirre. Going right at Mustaf. Offensively, this by far the most impressive NBA game for Gerard Mustaf.
For the entire Knicks team, because they're doing it against the best defensive team in the NBA.
Half minute to go in this third quarter. Mustaf again. And away. Oakley, yes, and it counts.
Offensive rebounds by the Knicks have been the big problem today for Detroit. Normally an outstanding defensive rebounding team. Detroit simply is not putting a body on anyone, not blocking out, giving them second and third opportunities at the basket.
Edwards called for the foul, his fourth. New backcourt for the Knicks. Mark Jackson and Trent Tucker have checked in. So Charles Oakley over the 5,000 career rebound mark. Good third quarter for Maurice Cheeks after seeing only 8 minutes of action in the first half. Pistons working the clock down. Final seconds of the third. Edwards on the pull-up. Oakley pegs it to Mustaf, gets it off. After 3 here at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks 78, the Pistons 58. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. A moment ago at the end of the third quarter, Knicks racing the clock. They got it down, but Mustaf not able to hit. Friday night against the Cavaliers in Richfield, Mark Jackson ended the first half with what may be the longest shot in New York Knicks history, a 3-quarter court buzzer beater. Mike, we measured it off at 74 feet. And John Cirillo, the publicity director for the New York Knicks, claims that it is, for what it's worth, the longest shot in Knicks history.
And being very modest, Mark Jackson told us yesterday that being from the New York City playgrounds, this is the type of shot that we have practiced through the years, but it really meant a lot to him. Something he would cherish forever, that shot.
Are you kidding or what?
No, seriously.
Cherish forever a fling from 3-quarter court.
Calculated his lead.
Patrick Ewing opening the fourth quarter, and the Knicks lead it 80-58. For the New York Knicks, their finest moments this season before the home crowd. It's a sellout, 7th of the year. William Bedford showing the outside touch. 19,081 on hand. Knicks with a backcourt of Tucker and Jackson. Ewing, Mustaf, Vandeweghe up front. Foul called. Scott Hastings with early entrance, and he's called for the foul on Ewing. Well, we mentioned Ahmad Rashad feverishly working the sidelines. Let's get back to Ahmad.
Well, Marv, you know, there's no question that in New York they got some of the greatest fans ever. And I'm here with a fan that has had the same seats for 32 years.
When I was 4 years old, I started going, Ramad. You were my high school idol at that time.
Freddie Klein, also a comedian. 32 years in the same seats. Back to you, Marv.
Freddie Klein reeling off some one-liners at the expense of Ahmad. Scott Hastings with the field goal. A 3-pointer for Scott.
Maybe Fred Klein letting us know in advance that there will be entertainment at the deli in New York from now on.
It counts, and the foul. So Ewing will go to the line.
Those long strides by Patrick Ewing help clear him from the defensive player, and then the concentration at the end, eyes on the rim, follow the shot all the way.
Foul called on Bedford. Scott Hastings a moment ago hitting his second 3-pointer of the season. 2 for 2 from downtown range.
The Pistons actually have 2 big men on the floor right now who are outstanding 3-point shooters, Hastings and Bedford.
2 big men who have not been getting the playing time recently. Hastings had not played the last 4 games. Bedford, a DNP in 3 of the last 4. Ernie Johnson And Detroit going for the bombs to try and get back into it, trailing by 22. Ewing called for the foul. That is his 4th.
You know, Scott Hastings may be the only 12th man to have a TV show every week on his own.
All right, coming up next on NBC, live final round action at the Shearson Lehman Brothers Open. That is the Shearson Lehman Brothers Open. Coming up next, right here on NBC. Scott has his own television show.
Yeah, a little bit every week, and does an outstanding job. Quick-witted, great lines, and they like him. People love him, and he is the perfect guy to have in that spot of 12th man. Terrific in practice, keeps the team unified, knows his role, knows what his job is.
Scott Hastings, originally a 2nd-round pick of the Knicks, spent 5.5 years with Atlanta. Complained about the head coach there on a number of occasions.
Frequently.
Yes, and then Miami, Detroit, and it's his 2nd year with the Detroit Pistons.
In fact, he mentioned to Tree Rollins before the game today. Hey, Tree, this is the guy that got rid of both of us.
Tucker. And Hastings able to get to it. So it's Bedford, Hastings, and Aguirre up front. In the backcourt, Johnson and Lance Blanks. Another three-pointer. This time, William Bedford, who has 9. The Knicks lead at 85-66.
He's now 5 for 9 from the three-point line this season. He knocked out 3 in a row at the end of a Seattle game a couple months back.
Ewing. And the loose ball foul called on Mustaf. Timeout being called with 9:43 remaining in the 4th quarter. It's the Knicks by 19.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Nike, who reminds you to just do it. By Nissan, built for the human race. And by Liberty Mutual. For your insurance and financial service needs, America believes in Liberty Mutual.
Well, this afternoon here at the Garden, no cries of Al must go, a chant that has cropped up from time to time in recent weeks. There is the general manager of the New York Knicks, Al Bianchi. It's difficult to understand how the Knicks could go into the season without making a trade, Mike. We're missing elements, in particular with the Knicks allowing Johnny Newman to sign with Charlotte, and now with Ricky Pierce out of the picture and the trade deadline. We touched on this at the start. Trade deadline coming up next Thursday. The pressure is on Al Bianchi. He does not want to make a panic deal, but knows he must make a move. On the other hand, with Bianchi having a tenuous situation, a 1-year contract, does Madison Square Garden management have enough confidence to allow him to make significant moves? Here's Aguirre, and the Knicks lead at 85-68. In effect, you permit a man that you are not sure that you want back next year determine the fate of your franchise. A very sensitive area.
If this is the man that's in that position, as Vandeweghe off the dribble, beats Aguirre to the basket once again. If he's the man in that position to make the decisions, then you have to let him do his job. He's lost a few players, so giving them away in trades. Rod Strickland, Green, Johnny Newman. But he's brought some in also. Oakley, Vandeweghe, Cheeks. So in fairness to Bianchi, he should be the guy making the decision and do what he has to do. Kiki off the dribble, goes by Aguirre.
18 points for Kiki Vandeweghe. 3 minutes gone by in the 4th quarter. And the Knicks with the big lead most of the game, breaking it open in the 2nd quarter. And they lead it 87-68. The high man is Patrick Ewing with 26. He's sitting down. Gerard Mustaf now at the center spot. Kiki Vandeweghe is now 8 out of 15. He has 20 coming off the 26 against Cleveland on Friday night.
And you can just see it in Vandeweghe's eyes. He knows he has a guy playing him that he can take advantage of with and without the ball. They keep going to him. The Knicks, good move.
This is Lance Blanks, the rookie from Texas. And Oakley on the rebound behind the back, got away with it. And here's Tucker from downtown.
Reminiscent of the Patino days. Push the ball, stop behind the three-point line, get it up there, Trent. That's your specialty.
And it will be Nick Paul off the turnover. Well, the Detroit Pistons, the top-rated team defensively, averaging only 95 points per game allowed. And here are the Knicks with 92 and much time remaining. Gerard Mustaf getting away with an up and down and then called for the offensive foul.
Scott Hastings pulling a little Bill Laimbeer routine, holding his ground, arms up, never leaves. That elevation that Scotty has draws the offensive foul.
And number 33, Rollins, replaced Vinny Johnson and Marco.
Scotty feels that his arms are up, holding his area. Offensive player jumps into him. Good call by the official.
Well, Chuck Daly indicating extensive garbage time as he empties the bench. Tree Rollins has come on. John Long, who was recently signed for the remainder of the season after signing a couple of 10-day contracts, has checked back in. Well, the Bullets have defeated the Cavaliers 108-104. Game played in Baltimore. So Washington now 22-30. And they move into a tie for the 8th spot in the playoff chase with the Indiana Pacers.
Washington, one of those teams that was playing so well before the All-Star break, comes back after the All-Star break, has been struggling. That's a big win for them right there. And in that last little series, there's the classic example of Blanks as a point guard versus a scoring guard. Many people felt that he was a two-guard, shooting scoring guard, rather than the decision maker. He got up in the air last time, bad decision.
Foul committed by Mark Jackson. Tree Rollins off the fake, shows us the jump hook. Bedford was hit. Reminder, tomorrow we'll have a special holiday presentation of the NBA on NBC. Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, who last night at home knocked off the Nets, will take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Coverage beginning 3 o'clock Eastern time, starting with NBA Showtime, hosted by Bob Costas and Pat Riley. The hand for Kiki Vandeweghe as he sits down. Kenny Walker returns. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the National Basketball Association and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the NBA.
And since Hot Rod Williams has come back and been able to shake off some of the cobwebs, Cleveland playing much better. Chicago legitimately a chance to win the Eastern Conference.
Yes, Chicago Bulls at 35-14. They've won 5 in a row. And they come into today's play 1 game in front of second place Detroit. Timeout taken by the Knicks. 7:06 to go in this 4th quarter. It's the Knicks 92 and the Pistons 70.
The Chicago Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers. A special holiday presentation of the NBA on NBC.
We're ready, Michael.
Well, it has not been a pleasant afternoon for Chuck Daly of the Detroit Pistons, head coach of the 92 U.S. Olympic men's basketball team that will compete in Barcelona. The selection of Daly, step 1 in assembling what probably will be the greatest basketball team in history, and Chuck acknowledges there will be problems in satisfying players who are selected to the club as a starter. International rules used in the Olympics call for a 40-minute game instead of the 48-minute NBA game, and his major chore will be to juggle egos. He's been a master at that. We do have the Fratello 12-man roster selection. I want to get to that in a moment. Who you would pick as the United States Olympic squad, and we will post that in a moment.
Probably the most difficult thing, how to do it, who those 12 people are.
Hastings. It's not what he's been practicing, I would think, but it's tipped home. Tree Rollins with his first field goal. The Knicks lead at 92-72. And what has to be going through John McLeod's mind right here? Yes, a very impressive performance against a Detroit club that has not been shot. The foul called on Rollins. But there have been other instances where the Knicks feel they're building with a victory. For example, last Tuesday in Indiana, they beat the Pacers at Market Square in Indianapolis and then blow consecutive games down the stretch to the Chicago Bulls here on Thursday and then to Cleveland on Friday. He thought he'd be able to build on the win against Indiana, but once again, nothing came of it. So the question is, what will the Knicks do with the win here today?
Well, John McLeod has said that the problem has been we've been very inconsistent, as we see a quote that John McLeod relayed to us yesterday, made by Al Attles years ago, that the longer you keep players, they expect more from you and give you less in return. John said, we just haven't had that consistency. We have had no 6 or 7 game streak.
Oh, a technical foul has been called. Hugh Hollins and Tommy Nunez in concert as they point at Scott Hastings, who had some nasty words for the officials. Trent Tucker, who has not been going to the line frequently this season, in fact, has missed his last 3, will shoot the tee. And Trent now, after going 9 for 10 on the year, has made it 0 for 4.
I was saying that John McLeod says we just haven't had that string, 6, 7 in a row. We haven't won that 13 out of 18 type of thing that most teams go through. It's due to come. I keep thinking, I see signs, and then we step back.
Yeah, that's a very optimistic outlook. Who is to say that this club is capable of reeling off 5 or 6 wins? Obviously, from a coach point of view, you've got to think like that, but no one is given a law of average win streak.
No, but it is John McLeod's job as the head coach to keep this team upbeat, to be positive with them, to make them understand that you're the people that must do it on the floor. It's going to come if you continue to work hard.
It is waved off. A kneeing foul indicated. It's on John Long. So the Pistons with their 4th team foul. John McLeod, one-time high school English teacher, had great success as head coach at Oklahoma over a 4-year run, and then did the job with Phoenix and Dallas over a 17-year period.
Jackson with a little scoop shot in the lane.
6 points for Jackson, and the Knicks lead it by 24 off the steal. Blanks able to catch Jackson. A look away attempted. That was deflected. So Jackson able to recapture.
Woody Mayfield found the deflection. I don't know who else saw it out there.
Mustoff. And the foul is called. Chuck Daly is in the process of resting his starting alignment. He has a front line of Bedford, Rollins, and Hastings. Long and Blanks are at the guards. Tree Rollins called for that foul. So Mustoff to the free throw line. Nine points for Mustoff. Coming up next, right here on NBC, it'll be live final round action at the Shearson-Lehman Brothers Open. And the leaders, Steve Pate and J. Don Blake. Pate won it 2 years ago, returning to the scene. Tournament being played at La Jolla, California. Has not won a tournament since that victory 2 years back. John Long and Tucker able to cut it off, and Hicks for Jackson.
That was a perfect example of taking a guard out of his normal position. They had Long playing the point for that series. He forgot to cover the backcourt once the shot went up. Easy layup for the Knicks.
Loose ball foul.
In that last play, John Long stands around and looks a little bit too long because he's so used to going to the boards as a big guard. As a result, Jackson sneaks out for the easy layup. It's that split-second decision that gives up the easy score.
Kenny Walker called on the foul. And now John McLeod has emptied his bench. All 12 Knicks see action as Eddie Wilkins, Brian Quinette, and John Starks check in.
New York with 29 fast break points to Detroit's 6. The problem for Detroit has been, how do we get easy scores? They've been doing it most recently with offensive rebounds. Today, the Knicks did a good job of keeping them off the offensive glass, reduced their easy scores.
And the whistle from New Holland's a foul line violation. One of the Pistons, perhaps Hastings on the follow-through, stepping in too quickly.
Scott Hastings trying to see how many things he can get done in one game in his limited time. A three-point shot, a technical foul, a foul line violation.
John Starks handling the ball in his second year in the NBA out of Oklahoma State. Saw some service last season with Golden State and the CBA. Here's Brian Quinnett. Quinnett in his second year out of Washington State, second-round draft pick last year. So Starks, Quinnett, and Eddie Wilkins playing for the first time. Eddie Wilkins had been the backup center behind Patrick Ewing, but fell out of favor recently. Blanks firing one. And the Knicks now lead 102-75. Well, this a game that the Detroit Pistons will want to wipe from their memory when that final buzzer sounds. Their worst loss this season at the hands of the Lakers by the score of 114-90. And this one is threatening that dubious distinction. Mustaf with the fling, and Hastings, look out. Oh, very nice. Lance Blanks making contact with the TV monitor.
Mark, a little slow in yelling out, look out.
All right, here's another look. I know you'll enjoy this, Mike. There it is.
Marv with the quick ejection from the seat.
Tell me, why do the players seem to enjoy that?
They do that on purpose.
Lance Blanks of Texas with some fine moves. Here's Wilkins. Mustaf. The Knicks with a 102-75 lead, 3:20 remaining in the fourth quarter, and Blanks, obviously inspired by the contact with the announcing crew, is able to hit, and he'll go to the line.
Blanks all the way, takes it down the floor, ability to keep the ball out in front, gain ground, good elevation at the end, taking it to the rim.
And completes the three-point play. You're all right, Mike? I saw you in the third row with some very fine reflexes.
A physical style of play is not a problem with me at all.
Mr. Stats, our crack statistician, Elliot Kalb, not taking the body, just moving away, showing no respect.
You thought he might just lay out in front of the oncoming player, yeah.
As a team player, you'd hope that he'd give up the body. Foul called on Rollins. His third. Also, our glass of water landing all over my pants. The only pants I brought. I have a game tomorrow in Cleveland. Mike, I don't know what I'm going to do about it.
Don't worry about that tie, because it is no great loss, by the way.
Knicks with a 103-78 lead. Starks makes the score sheet. Hastings played by Quinnett. Here's Rollins, Bedford. So William Bedford with 13 points, and he is 5 for 5 from the field. This is a most unlikely occurrence. The Knicks with a wipeout as Mustaf does it again, and that equals his career high. He has 12. A wipeout of the defending NBA champion Detroit Pistons. John Long rejected by Gerard Mustaf. Eddie Wilkins. That was deflected. Bedford ahead of the field, but Blanks takes it by himself, then finds Long, and the Knicks lead at 106-82.
That was Tree Rollins with the block at the other end. Tree used to always have a great line for the rookies in training camp. When he blocked their first shot, he would say to them, "Didn't you have cable where you came from?"
Yes. John Starks. At one stretch this season, Starks was in the starting lineup with John McLeod, going through some shuffling to experiment, and he's gone back to the original starting five. Jackson fires it down. Here's Starks. And the Knicks lead 110-82.
Same exact thing just happened to Detroit. That time, Blanks was out in front as the point guard. When the shot went up, he forgot that he was the person responsible to cover the backcourt. The Knicks leaked somebody out. Easy score again.
Minute and a half to go in the fourth. Bedford. And Eddie Wilkins gets to it.
Bedford much better facing up than playing with his back to the basket.
Starks. Knicks lead at 112. 82. 8 quick points for John Starks. Well, next for Detroit, they are home tomorrow for Seattle on President's Day. Wednesday home for Atlanta, Friday at Charlotte. And they will try and forget what took place here this afternoon as they drop to 35 and 17. And they'll make it 4 losses their last 6 games. Bedford now with 15 points.
And one of Chuck Daly's key words this season, tolerance. That's what makes him so good, his ability to handle games like this and realize you must bounce back.
Hastings on the foul. 43 seconds left in the fourth. It's the Knicks 112, the Pistons 84. Today's Miller Genuine Draft Player of the Game, Patrick Ewing of the New York Knicks. On behalf of Patrick, NBC, and Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. A strong all-around performance by the Knicks All-Star center Patrick Ewing. 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 block shots.
Coming off an outstanding All-Star game, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks in the All-Star game.
And also happy to turn it from the game against the Cavaliers on Friday, where he had his difficulties in the fourth quarter. Kiki Vandeweghe with 20 points. The rookie Gerard Mustaf with 12. Charles Oakley 10 points and 15 rebounds. Eddie Wilkins with his first point of the game. Pistons led by Vinnie Johnson with 23. William Bedford has come on during the course of garbage time, and in a very short period of playing time. Here's Bedford again. He's out of control now. 15 for Bedford, and that's a goaltend. Tree Rollins will get credit. The Knicks now lead 114-86 with 29 seconds remaining in the ball game. Coming up next, right here on NBC, first round action at the Shearson Lehman Brothers Open from La Jolla, California. It counts, and the foul. So Wilkins will go to the line. And don't forget tomorrow, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls against the Cleveland Cavaliers here on NBC, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern Time with NBA Showtime, hosted by Bob and Pat. And it's John Long on the follow. Thanks to our producer, Tommy Roy, director Andy Rosenberg, our statistician, Mr. Stats, Elliott Cow. The Knicks defeat the Pistons 116-88, so they are now 22-29 as they start this 3-game homestand with the W. The Detroit Pistons dropped to 35-17, and they are now a game and a half behind the first place Chicago Bulls. And for the Pistons, it is their worst defeat of the season. And I should mention 0-3 on NBC.
They've gone through a very unusual stretch here. Keep in mind that in their last 5 games, 2 of the teams have scored over 60 points against them in the first half of basketball. Today, they give up a total of 116.
All right, 116-88, the final score. Tune in tomorrow for that special holiday presentation of the NBA on NBC. The Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers from Richfield, starting at 3 o'clock. And coming up next, it'll be live final round action at the Shearson Lehman Brothers Open. Marv Albert, along with Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad from Madison Square Garden in New York. The Knicks even up the season series with the Pistons at 1-1 with the resounding, surprising victory. This has been a presentation of the NBA on NBC.
Okay, Bob Costas back along with Pat Riley. Welcome to the post-game show. Here's what we'll do in the next 15 minutes or so. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from Madison Square Garden. There were also a couple of other games in this afternoon activity in the NBA, and we'll check those scores as well. We'll check in with Charlie Jones for the coverage of the final round of the Shearson Lehman Brothers Open Golf Tournament, and we'll look ahead to tomorrow's game on NBC, the Bulls against the Cavaliers from Cleveland. And yes, round 5 of the shootout. What better incentive than to stay here for the next few minutes? We're back after this from your local stations. Okay, the Pistons now 0 for the season on NBC. They've lost 3 straight here, losing today 116-88 at Madison Square Garden. Most points that the best defensive team in the entire league has given up in any one game all year. Knicks broke it open in the second quarter. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from today's game. A huge day for Patrick Ewing. More on that in a moment. Pistons were cold throughout. Here's Mark Aguirre missing. Mark Jackson of the Knicks takes the rebound, ignites the fast break, goes behind the back to Patrick for the easy 2. In the second half, the Knicks pulled away. Maurice Cheeks finding Kiki Vandeweghe. Kiki moving well without the ball. Great bullet pass from the veteran Cheeks, and the Knicks extend their lead to 18. Pistons unable to control the defensive boards. Gerard Mustaff misses. Vandeweghe can't hit, but Charles Oakley is there for the third try. Knicks up 20 at that point. Then the Knicks with razzle-dazzle. Oakley, one-handed rebound. Behind the back to Jackson. Jackson ahead to Trent Tucker. He nails the three-pointer. Knicks up 92-68. They beat the Pistons in a blowout. Long afternoon for Chuck Daly. And let's take a look at some of the final stats. Vinnie Johnson did have 23 in defeat for the Pistons. They had to play without John Sally. He's got lower back spasms. He didn't dress. And Joe Dumars showing the effects of that injured big toe. He sat out most of the second half of the All-Star game. As you may recall, he'd been averaging better than 40 points a game in the absence of Isaiah Thomas. Today he shoots just 3 of 12 and scores 7 points. Ewing with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocked shots, and Patrick is standing by now at Madison Square Garden. One afternoon doesn't make a season, that's for sure, Patrick, but all things considered, this might be the best day of the year for the Knicks.
Yes, I definitely think it was. Tonight, everybody came out on all cylinders. We hit the open man. We made easy shots, and we rebounded the ball, and that's the reason. And also, we played outstanding defense. That's the reason why we won.
Charles Oakley helped you out on the boards as he usually does. He had 15 caroms today.
Right. I was telling him when we was on the bench, I thought he had about 20. He did an outstanding job. He ignited us on the offensive rebounds, and that's also one of the big reasons why we won.
Patrick, with a 30-point win today, an obviously convincing win for the New York Knicks at the Garden, you have struggled throughout most of the season at Madison Square Garden. Is there any particular reason why you think the Knicks haven't been able to perform like you had today?
Well, basically, I think that, you know, in order for us to win at home or on the road, we have to come out and play like we played tonight on all cylinders. Everybody has to be clicking, and in the previous games, it was lacking. And today we came out and we knew we didn't want to be embarrassed, so we all came to play.
It seems as though this game could be a launching pad for the Knicks. Even though there's a long way to go, you're fighting Indiana and Washington for the final playoff spot. As the leader of the Knicks, is there any one message that you would give your players today from here on out?
Well, just come out and play like we played tonight. Keep the intensity up, keep working hard, and let the chips fall where they may.
Patrick, what about your own situation? There's been lots of talk about your contract woes with the Knicks. Do you expect to finish your career with the New York Knickerbockers?
Well, I'm happy in New York. I mean, I'm happy with, the town of New York. I love it here. But it's a business decision, and what happens, happens. I don't know. I can't say right now. But, I think that a lot has been said about that, and I don't want to take anything away from, trying to get my team into the playoffs and possibly, winning the championship. And that's all I want to say about it.
But emotionally and mentally, you've prepared yourself for either eventuality, either remaining with the Knicks or possibly moving on.
Right.
Patrick, thanks very much, and congratulations on a great performance today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the Knicks win it by a score of 116-88. They're now just 10-15 at Madison Square Garden for the year. Actually, with that victory, 11-15 on their home floor. They had been 64-18 there over the past 2 seasons. Pistons, meanwhile, without Isaiah, with Dumars hobbling, Sally out of the lineup today, they have lost 4 of their last 6, 116 88. Now, Cleveland played at Washington today. You'll see the Cavaliers tomorrow on NBC. The Bullets win it 108-104. The game actually played at the Baltimore Arena, where the Bullets will play 4 of their home games this season. Bernard King had 25, but it was the rookie out of Virginia Union, A.J. English, not to be confused with Alex English, who led the way with 31. Larry Nance had 27 for the Cavaliers. And halftime at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, and the Pacers are in front of Sacramento. The score there is 56-48. The Pacers coming off a win Wednesday night at Detroit. And we'll be back with more in just a moment.